More TwoSun, more Tuesday? Well, that's exactly what we got going on here. This is another Jelly Jerry, and this, as you can see, is not a titanium frame lock. This is a little bit more of a budget knife. This is using TwoSun's, as I've been calling it, meh-carta, because it's not exactly a great quality sort of stuff. I have actually sanded this down to give it a little bit different texture to it. Kind of remove a little bit more of that top coat of that phenolic resin on there, so I have a little bit more micarta feeling to it. It's got kind of a olive green drab kind of G10 backspacer going on there. TwoSun doesn't really do a micarta backspacer. A lot of companies don't, but some do. It really has to do with, I don't know, their manufacturing and if they actually want to try to mount things through it or into both sides, or yeah, whatnot. All of that good stuff. All right, this one is called the Dreadnought, and as you can see here, that's using their fairly generic deep carry-ish pocket clip. I say deep carry-ish because you're still going to have a little bit sticking out there, but I'm perfectly fine with that. We got a flipper tab here, and as you can see, well, let's go ahead and actually deploy the knife proper. How about that? Yes, we have a clip point with quite a bit of a harpoon sort of thing going on up top. Very comfortable for the thumb to rest in that nice crook there, as well as you can choke back a little bit on that one to have your thumb rest there and a little bit on the blade. And because it's got that harpoon thing there, you can curve a little bit around that for some security if you're doing some sort of utility cuts. But this one feels just a little bit too pointy on the top, so I don't necessarily like that. However, what I do really like to see is nested liners. I don't see those in enough TwoSuns. Obviously, this isn't the absolute first one. There are some others, but hey, it is nice to see that. You can see at the very end there, this little tiny point here. That is the tip of the blade, so if you really are digging your finger in there, you can get to the point. But you have to really, really try, and probably after a sharpening or two, even that wouldn't result in it. We got a little bit of a fuller there that, yeah, if you can get over that detent, then yes, you can open it up that way. This one also seems to have a bit of a late detent. A bit like the TS227 that I took a look at probably a couple of weeks ago here, where the flipper tab actually hits your thumb, but you're not over the detent there, so it can snap back into being open. So it takes a little bit of getting used to close it. The handle on this thing is actually pretty darn comfortable. They've done a good job with the contouring here. Kind of looks like a little bit of a painting seagull or something like that. But works out quite nice for finger placement. And the deep carry pocket clip. It's not my favorite, but it's also not excruciatingly terrible on this one in particular. And if you bury the knife further up rather than try to keep it on the knuckle pad there, then you know, that ends up disappearing altogether. Now this one does have a bit of a compound grind, but from what I can tell, this is basically cosmetic. It doesn't really change much in the fact of the thickness of it. I guess it keeps it just a little tiny bit thicker up towards the top there, but yeah, it really doesn't make any difference that I can tell with the cutting geometry or anything like that. Yes, the action on this thing, once you actually do get over that detent, very nice and drop shotty. So that's pretty good on a more budget knife. I haven't seen these around on eBay for a little bit, but of course I said that about the TS222 when I reviewed that several weeks back, and I just saw some pop up again. So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if we do see some more of these. This guy is in 14C28N steel. since I didn't cover that at the beginning there. Let's go ahead and do a little bit of size comparisons. Yes, it's a bit large. Yeah, try to get that around the same one. And yeah, it's right around the same kind of size as the PM2. Obviously, it's taller, both in the handle and the blade. So, let's go for the Manix 2XL. Yeah, we do have a little bit, well, yeah, the Manix 2XL does have a little bit longer of a blade, but the cutting length on it is basically right around the same. It just has that finger choil there. Yeah, the Benchmade, you can see this one's much larger than that. And we'll go for the rat number 1 here, where, yep, lining up those guys there. The blade on the rat 1 is just a smidge longer than this guy here. So let's go ahead and take a look at that. This is, yeah, it's probably 3.4 inches. I'll certainly have the exact measurement and all of that stuff, probably in the thumbnail as well as in the description and all that sort of stuff. But I think it's 3.4, 3.44, somewhere right around there. Oh, let's see, where is my Calipalulus? Here we are. Just wanted to take a look at this, and yeah, it's a little thick boy here. We got 0.58 or so inches going on there, and hey, 3.75 basically looks like for that. So this is just a little tiny bit thinner than a lot of his other work for TwoSun. Overall, for a budgety knife, I quite like it. I really do like the nice tall blade that we get here. That means that we don't really have a huge amount of problem with the gradual grind down there. I at least haven't put a smile on this thing yet. It will have it eventually, but hopefully not until I've used it a huge amount and sharpened it quite a few times. But as always, let's go ahead and take a look on the inside of this guy. Let's see, I will pull the pocket clip off first. This is T8 construction all the way around. Interesting on this one in particular that the pocket clip is there, but we have the Chicago stud screws, or the Chicago screws, there we go, up above it rather than being the same there. This one is spinning me right round, baby, right round. So let's go ahead and grab me out my little gator grip here so I can grab it from this side so I can make it stop spinning. There we go. Usually don't have a problem with those. But in this particular instance, it looks like we did. At least it's easy enough to fix. Alright, and the pivot's off. Let's see, and then I generally like to poke things just a little bit to, yeah, at least get the pivot off. And here we are. We can see that the liner is definitely nested in there, and the liner looks a little bit more like a, a normal-sized knife. But the micarta around it is quite a bit larger. Let's see. Go ahead and do it this way here. It's, of course, rather snug on these back Chicago screws. There we go. Okay. So this little tiny thing is the only bit of liner that we get on the other side. But because the micarta is quite thick, yeah, this stuff is actually pretty darn strong. compared to a lot of the thinner veneer kind of micartas that you get. This one has a lot of girth to it, if you will. And yeah, this is one beefy stop pin. Something that's always nice to see. We do have a D shape, but it's only a little notch there at the end. They've done that on a couple. I think they've basically changed all of them to be ground down all the way, even though they only have the D shape connect on one side over there. Probably just easier than producing them like that. No matter. Both of these are the same because one of them isn't attaching to a pocket clip. So we can go ahead and slap this guy on. There we go. And don't really want to forget the other pin here, which is actually a little bit thicker than I would normally think they would use, but it's because it is going from micarta to micarta through G10, so it's not really having any metal kind of in between there. And go ahead and slap the blade back on there with the ceramic bearings. Sure everything's lined up there, and then usually after I do that, I do try to release the lock. Just sometimes it does bury a little bit further in there if you're shoving everything together. So that just kind of helps that out and relieves that before you tighten everything up, and then you're trying to fight with a lock bar that is pushed way farther over than it really needs to be. Yeah, so this one, just like the beginning there, do really want to force these things back through. They're not, it's not really built to a super incredibly high tolerance. But it is snug, and that's basically all you really need those for. Come on, buddy. All right. All nice and back together. Pivot's just a little bit tighter than I would personally prefer that to be. Yep, no blade play there. Nice and drop shut. Okay, yes. So, very, very tall blade on this thing. But it also has a decently lightweight due to it being mostly micarta in the handles. Let's see. Speaking of weight, I guess I should have done that earlier, but I didn't. .315 ounces, 122.3 grams. So, yeah, it does have a little bit of heft to it. But I do think a lot of that is just the fact that, this is a much taller knife, so it has a lot more steel on it than you would otherwise kind of assume. But, yes, other than that quite late detent release on that one, it was a pretty darn good knife for it being all budgety and everything. Again, micarta, not all that super great on these ones, but, you can take some sandpaper or, heck, even a sharpening stone to it if you have a decent way to clean it out. And do that to kind of get it at least a little bit better texture. It won't necessarily look any better, but it'll feel better. So that's why I've done that to quite a few of my TwoSuns, this one included. All right, well, that's the Dreadnought, the TS227. This is a Nice little budget offering. And, yes, as always, I appreciate y'all for watching. And have yourself a wonderful rest of your day, yo.